21st will come to order. The time is 7 o'clock. We are all here except for Dave Pearl and Mike Lutz. We have a quorum, so we'll proceed. David, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 2, are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? I actually have 2 additions. We need to add, and I'd like to add it as 4D, Trails Committee appointments. And we need to add an executive session that I would like to add at the end of the meeting. Changes to this agenda?
Move to accept the change.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 3 is a consent agenda. Approve the Board of Trustees meeting minutes for February 7th. Bring and direct the approved PC minutes for January 24th. And approve the bills payable run from February 8th through February 20th in the amount of $8,434.95. Would anyone on the board like to call out any one of these items? Staff, you want to call any of these out? I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4 is new business, and the first item on that is the introduction of ordinance 37-2017A, which is an ordinance amending the Green Mountain Falls Municipal Code to create the position of town manager. As you know, this ordinance is being established to assign specific duties to the position and to accept the duties of town manager. It was in February 7th meeting. The attorney has reviewed it. He suggested a residency requirement to be reading and not talking. Residency requirement was to be restated to miles rather than minutes. Caught a misspelling, otherwise the attorney's okay with it. It is to, Matt?
Shouldn't that read town manager / clerk? And that is the way the position is being offered.
That is the way the position's being offered. The only reason that it's this way instead of manager clerk is if someday we become very flush with money, we don't have to redo this, because the way that it's written with the duties, we can have the manager assigned clerk duties and vice versa. So it should be more long-term than if we made it narrow.
And on the flip side, should we decide to go back to just a clerk, also does not require us to repeal any code.
Got it. Thank you.
So, I'm preparing in case you want me to read this in its entirety. Or would the board like to discuss this on title only?
Well, just procedurally, I think we need to set the matter for workshop for the public to
All
get
right.
their input, and for a public hearing per our ordinance adoption rules.
Well, let me look at the calendar. It's the 21st. You want to set that for March 7th?
Yeah, so I would move to set this ordinance for a workshop on March 7th and a public hearing on March 21st, properly noticed, and copies be made available on the website in advance of the draft ordinance.
I would second that. Board, is there any further discussion on the workshop or the public hearing? All those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Board, do you have any further discussion on this before we proceed and we have a workshop on the 7th? Seeing none, we can move to item B. Resolution 2017-221A, the adoption of the strategic plan. As you recall, we had the strategic plan session on Saturday, the 21st. A document came out, talked a little bit more and fleshed that out with some goals. Do you have anything to discuss on the strategic plan? As this resolution is nice and short, and I can read this for the record. It's resolution 2017-221A, a resolution approving a strategic action plan for the town of Green Mountain Falls for 2017. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the town of Green Mountain Falls held a strategic planning session on January 21st to develop a plan to address some of the major issues facing the town. And whereas during that meeting, the board established 7 goals that they plan to accomplish during the next year. And whereas since that session, an action plan has been developed to set forth the actions that will be needed to accomplish these goals. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, hereby approves the attached action plan to accomplish the goals set forth in this town's strategic plan. Introduced, resolved, and passed at the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the town of Green Mountain Falls on this 21st day of February 2017.
I move to approve the resolution.
Second,
Is there any further discussion?
some of these dates seem aspirational, and some of them seem very realistic. So as we tick off the actions, how will we, measure our progress against this action plan?
Well, what I would, during the time I'm still here, what I would plan on doing is periodically, maybe a month or so, just keeping the board up to date and appraised of where we are. And I would hope that the new town manager would do the same thing. Yeah, they are aspirational. There's going to be some changes. There's going to be some things that crop up that you don't anticipate. So, yeah, I think it's a matter of, it's dynamic.
Okay. And I would just suggest that anything that can be calendarized in agendas throughout the year, that we just do that in advance so we can kind of see what's coming and what's needed in advance.
Gail?
Could you just briefly mention the headings of those 7?
Sure, be happy to. So the goals for the next year is to work on a comprehensive plan. We have an action plan with each one of these items. The town manager clerk, which we are well on our way. The technology and communications, we're already started on working on getting the audio system here. The lake project, and you saw that presentation prior. We're already off on one presentation because the planning commission, Tom couldn't attend, so I'll be doing that on the 28th instead of the 21st. We're going to review committees and appointments to committees. And let's see, the asset replacement capital planning, which that list has already been started and inventory's been started on that. And we're going to be reviewing all of the town code, which is a huge project, but one that needs to be done. So we have a motion on the table. Did we have a second with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of passing this resolution, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C is the altitude sign project. RJ? That's you.
Yes,
Yes, you can present what you have to say about that, if you would, please.
just like me to read this?
Yeah, go ahead and read that, and we'll discuss
Okay, the altitude sign at Gazebo Lake has undergone repairs in recent years, and there is concern that it may pose a threat to the public. I've been asked to evaluate the sign and explore options. Option one, leave the sign as is. The sign has been reinforced and in my opinion is not danger of falling down. Option two, we can restore the sign as it exists today. We have timbers at the yard to replace the rotten timbers and a volunteer that has said he would restore the sign as is. This would take about $500 and equipment rental fees plus labor. However, it's my understanding that the timbers that we have do not meet with the volunteer's approval. This person will not be returning until spring. Option three, postpone any modifications at this time and determine whether the board wants to make any changes to the sign as part of the overall aesthetics of the updates made to the lake project. The budget on this would be dictated by the design of the new sign. Installation cost would be the same. It is my recommendation that either of the last two options be made part of the lake project so that we can apply any expenses, time, and labor towards the required in-kind capital of the lake project. Dick Bratton recently donated $3,000 to the town to pay for repairs to the sign. Obviously, number one is just option is just so we can determine where we're going with that. Sign.
Can you describe the reinforcements that have been done?
Just the steel beams on both sides of the post, the rotted posts, but now they're reinforced. They have steel beams down there.
That's recently? Or-
Since before I was here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Board, we have several options in front of us. The sign is an item on the CIP. So we should talk a little bit about what we want to do with that sign.
I would kind of lean towards doing all three. And here's my thinking, I think option one and three are pretty much the same. Because one is do nothing, although three is do nothing but wait. And two, I think there might be some ability to do a little bit of touch up and make it look a little better, whether or not, I haven't studied the condition to know whether it's a paint or there's structural. It sounds like your assessment is structure is okay, but maybe some paint is worthwhile. Maybe not replace the timbers, maybe replace the timbers, but the cost would not be overwhelming for number two, so that we put some attention to it. But then I think option three, the thing that's appealing to me is looking at that long term and seeing what we want to do, because I think that it is due for an update and do something a little different in that area to really tie it into how we want the overall aesthetic of the town.
Is it the idea to leave the design the same?
I don't know, that's why I'm bringing this up. Since we're doing the whole lake project, it was mentioned when, as part of that committee, that we decide whether we're going to go in a different direction with the altitude sign. I mean, if we're going to do that, now's the time to do it before we replace the timbers or decide what we're going to do with that. I mean, the planters that are there that it's in would match the flagstone that is going to be put up around the walls of the gazebo stuff. But I mean, obviously, if we're going to restore it, I want to do it all at the same time. I want to replace the timbers, do everything at the same time. I just don't want to have to redo it over,
Yeah.
waste money.
Not more than once.
Does this volunteer have a different idea about the design of it? I mean,
All I've heard is that he didn't approve of the timbers that we have at which are similar to what are there now. They're a stripped tree, what it looks like. So I know at one time, Mr. Klein had offered to maybe get some just utility poles down there instead of the timbers that we have. He thought he may have an outlet for those, but I think now is the time to address this and see if we're going to change the altitude sign entirely, since it's it's the entryway to the new lake. So, the updated lake, let me rephrase
to
it.
the Manitou Art Class to make it as
Exactly.
Yeah, which could go either way, as far as what the aesthetics would be. Mac?
The sign is there is fairly basic. As long as you have a donation, and possibly some more donation in the future, and as long as you're gonna probably wait until the lake project, maybe we should have some sort of a change in design to make it a little more attractive. It is very basic. Might be worth having, spending the time and possibly some of the donation money on a professional design or a contest of some sort.
Dick?
Who's this phantom volunteer you're talking about, who's out of town?
Joe's.
Oh, Joe Olds.
Huh?
All he wanted to do was paint it, he wasn't gonna design it.
But no, he wasn't going to design, but he would offer to
Yeah.
restore the sign. If we're going to restore the sign, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna,
he would
I
take
would-
it to his carport and paint it.
yes. But while we're tearing it down, I would like to go ahead and replace the timbers and all that. So if we're going to do all that, I'd like to go ahead and,
Aesthetically, my feeling is that the town is traditional, it's been there for a long time. I would not favor changing the design at all, just restore what we got. That's my personal opinion.
I like the idea of exploring new, maybe, I don't want to say design, but design, materials, aesthetics and art components of it that can meet with the historical character of the town and do something new at the same time. But I think we've got plenty of time on that. I know it's not in danger of falling down. My concern is it's in danger of being pushed down. Some enterprising teenagers could probably push that thing down based on the timber condition, if they had a will to, unnaturally. So I don't know that do nothing is really a good option from a safety perspective.
Well, let's see. I think what I'm hearing the most of is make sure it's safe and not gonna be pushed down, first of all. But let's give ourselves some time to think about what design and what look we want to have there. Whether that means we change it or it remains the same, let's explore our options for what designs should look like. We've heard several interesting things and I think it's worth exploring. We have the time.
Can you just brace it?
yes,
Take those timbers and just brace it for now?
yes.
Buy a couple bags of cement and brace them?
The timbers are rotted, especially, I mean,
Yeah, but
they just are,
just put
but I
some
can, yeah, I can wrap them and
back.
absolutely.
I mean, if it looks like they're rotted to the point that it has to come down, I'd say
Yeah.
take it
Well,
down.
Now that the steel beams are there, I mean, yes, you could push it down. But if there's many things you could push down around here.
Well, yes.
And it's right by the parking area, that could cause a lot of damage.
Well, let's make sure there's no.
And that,
safety
and
hazard.
again, that would probably be another concern with the timbers that we do have, that the same thing is gonna happen with those, they're gonna rot also, so a different type of material, especially that we have the money to do that with, but I don't wanna waste the money.
Right,
Okay,
absolutely not.
that's the reason I want to discuss it.
So I think, at the discussion we've had, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we're going to make sure there's no safety issue, but we're gonna take a breath, make sure we're heading down the proper design road. Okay? Item D is the Trails Committee appointments. You all have the minutes of the Trails Committee meeting as given to us by Mr. Bratton.
This is an annual exercise. Every year, we have at least 5 committee members whose terms expire. They're 2-year terms. And so I sent you all an email with nominations from our committee from our last Trails Committee meeting. There are 5 people whose terms have expired in 2016. We'd like to get them reappointed for another 2 years. They're all willing to serve. And we've had 2 resignations, and we'd like to have 2 people off our waiting list to move into those vacant positions. And they're Mike Christensen and Lisa Townsend. And the clerk provided you a copy of the applications from the 2 new people. The other people, applications have been on file for 2 years, 3 years, 7 years, 8 years, and 8 years. They've been on this for a while. These are all good people, they're all enthusiastic, they all want to serve on the advisory committee. The advisory committee was established by the town board on 18th of August 2009 by resolution. And its purpose was to serve as an advisory capacity, to assist the Board of Trustees with developing and maintaining a trail system to serve the recreational needs of the town residents and visitors. And we've been doing that now for 35 years, doing it formally the last 7 years. And we have 65 volunteers that work on the trails, teams, and we'll have 8 work days this summer to work on various trails. About 50% of the effort is on building new trails, 50% is on making sure our existing trails are safe and well maintained. Our first project this year will be the Con Trail, the little trail that goes from the post office to the swimming pool. It needs maintenance. It has settled a little bit and has been flooded a couple of times. So our project will be to raise the tread to a higher level to avoid damage from flooding. And it'll keep it dry, it won't be muddy all the time. We're already into the design of that. That's scheduled for May 20th.
Court, do you have any questions for Mr. Bratton?
Thank you for your ongoing service with the committee. I think it's great to see this continue.
Well,
Do we approve the 7? Do we need to, this number just say the 7 members of the committee?
including the new members,
The new members.
Mike Christensen and Lisa Townsend.
Correct.
Second.
Board, is there any further discussion? All those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. The volunteers, thank you too.
There's no old business on this agenda, so the next item is 6, public input. Please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Kay Back at 6545 Bruce Avenue. I'm also the owner of Peak Development LLC Frame Shop. Same address. I was down to town hall a couple of weeks ago to bring Renee some ideas for having a picture frame, a frame put on a picture of hers. And when I was here the second time, John came out and said, can you frame this picture of a gazebo? And I am telling you, I'm not sure where it has been hanging, posted for the past however long it has been here. So I took picture home, brought back mats, frames, and John and Renee looked at them, made a selection, and I said, can I, as a resident of Green Mountain Falls, owner of the frame shop, can I just donate having it framed to the town? Or is that a conflict of interest because I live here? So John said, do your proposal and come down and present it to you all. So here, I will do this so you guys can see it. She might be.
How many hands you got there?
I know, but it's like, I didn't think through this well enough, I guess. Okay, sorry. Let's hold it up, yeah. So that they can see it.
Who took the picture?
Carl Husbo.
Carl.
That's Carl's.
Big Carl.
And when I asked John,
Doug,
okay, did the photographer that took the picture and then had it dry mounted, charge the town, or did he make the donation to the town? And he said he donated it, so then okay, then bring it all to you guys and ask if I can frame it. And here's a estimate.
Well, as I understand the law, since it was a donation to the town and not to an individual board member, the town can accept your generous donation. And I would like to see you, when you bring it back framed, make sure and bring your cards and a card with it so people know that where they can get work done as well. Thank you very much.
If you want to see other work she's done, I have a big family picture in there. She did one.
Again, thank you, that's very nice of you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who has items for public input? Yes, Gail?
Can you just give us an update on when the marshal starts?
Marshall is going to start on March 20th. And I can say that his cars have been being worked on, so he will have a nice running vehicle when he gets here. That's a plus too.
And do we still have the Humvee?
The Humvee, because it's a 1030, from the 1030 feet to 1033 program, can only be relinquished by our law enforcement. So while technically we have it, it is at El Paso County. John and I took an inventory of that along with some of the weapons that we'd also acquired on 1033. And that will be up to the marshal and discussion of the board. Seeing no further public input, item 7 is correspondence. You have seen that. It's the PC draft minutes for February 14th. Item 8 is reports. Cameron,
Can I make a comment on correspondence?
you may.
It's actually an action item from the strategic plan. I really like receiving PC draft minutes and correspondence and accepting into the record the approved minutes. I think that's a great model. And one of the things on the strategic plan was to follow that same structure for standing committees. So is there any reason why we couldn't follow that same structure for Trails Committee starting now?
And Parks
Just to
Committee.
receive, officially receive the Trails minutes in our packets as correspondence.
No, I think that's a good idea. And we could do that with Trails and Parks and have the draft minutes so we could discuss it, and see what's coming up. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's been faithfully forwarded to the clerk after every meeting, so.
That's fine, then that should be easy enough to have.
No other report.
Thank you. I just have a very small report in that I am filling out the Fishing is Fun grant. There's a few things that I still need to get the whereases and whys on, but it's coming along very well. I've spoken with Jim Guthrie and Josh, who's the aquatic advisor, and they're both with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. They've given us a lot of good feedback, which I'm very grateful for because they're the ones who start making the initial decision. So if I make them happy, I think we have a good chance. Tyler?
No report?
Chris?
No, ma'am.
John?
No report.
Renee?
The municipal court account is set up at Park State Bank now, finally. We opened with an opening balance of $400 and new deposit slips were ordered. We don't really need checks for this account. We do have some starter checks that they did send. The only time I can foresee ever using them would be if we had to repay a defendant for more of a reimbursement to a bench warrant that might have been paid for that the court would decide they would get reimbursed for. Website errors that we were notified had been happening. We found out it's due to a configuration problem on El Paso County's end, and they are hoping to have that fixed by the end of this week, but it'll probably be more likely next week.
Okay.
Kyle Logan, the auditor, sent the last set of documentation requests, and the audit is scheduled for the week of June 5th.
Okay, that's great.
The surety bonds are finally in, and John and I just need to go have them notarized. So,
Good. Okay, thank you.
One,
RJ?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was looking at the meeting code site and it had some updated information on board and staff.
Yeah, that's good.
Is that part of that too?
I updated that last week, so I assume that Unicode is going to get that updated. I sent them.
It's not
new
today, it
information.
was still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good, thank you.
No.
All right. Mike?
I also looked on the website, on the municipal code, and it still has Lori as the mayor.
Right, that's what I was.
Those are the ones you were talking about? Okay. There. Seems like credit should be credit due, and it also says from 1992, so.
Okay, well, I'm sure it's all being worked on, and that's fine. At this time, we need to move into an executive session. It is according to CRS 246402E, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators. I would like to also invite John and Renee into that meeting. Is there a second?
Could I ask that you amend the motion with the topic to the extent that you can reveal it?
Is negotiations relative to the position of marshal.
Thank you.
And second, any further discussion? All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourning to an executive session at 7:32. Welcome to stay here and we'll go there.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Dick. Yep. Like I said, I want to